Hi, greetings. It's me, Dr. Paul Gerhardt, and today I want to talk about selling and salespeople. Very often, salespeople have a negative connotation. As a matter of fact, when I first started teaching sales, I didn't even want to teach selling. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to teach people how to lie and manipulate and try to sell people on things that they really don't want. And the more that I really started studying what selling really is, and who the most effective salespeople are, I've come to the realization that sales relations really is about applying human relations and doing it in an effective way that creates win-win outcomes. Now, that really is the truth. Granted, I do know that there are shifty salespeople that may have sold you or your grandmother or grandfather something they didn't need for an exorbitant price that probably broke their bank account. And if that has happened to you or someone that you know, I'm very sorry. There are good people and bad people in every industry and every occupation. And you cannot associate any particular job with the bad people. There will be good people and bad people in every position, in every organization. But it's up to you to be able to really be the best person that you could be and learn to apply the skills and traits that the best, most effective people have if you want to be your very best. You may have heard me say it maybe too often. If it's worth doing, it really is worth doing well. And if you want to be effective in your career or have the career that you truly love, you've got to be able to be an effective salesperson. Because how do you get to where you want to be? Well, you've got to do the things that the most effective salespeople do. And I'm here to help teach you that. I'm not going to teach you those skills here in this very first video on selling. But what I'm going to do is give you an overview of what selling is and what the best salespeople do, generally speaking. And then I'll lay down the framework to help you really understand why you need to be an effective salesperson. We're all salespeople. I know that if you use the title salesperson, that you're probably going to push people away. Maybe I've pushed some of you away with just the title here or in me using the word salesperson. I get it. But I'm telling you, if you really want to create a life and career you truly love, you've got to know how to be able to sell people on your ideas, on your value, and be able to sell yourself on your very attributes and characteristics. You can't be all things to all people. As a matter of fact, if you try to manipulate yourself into a particular job, but you don't have the right skills, you probably are setting yourself up for failure. You will not like your job, most likely, if you don't have the right skill sets and the right experience to do it. So get the right experience. How do you do that? Well, you've got to position yourself and be able to grow your career by getting the right experiences. Before I became a teacher at a college, I had to get experience teaching. And so what did I do? Well, I gained expertise in using computers. And then I went to college to learn how to do computers, and I actually ended up transferring and being a business student. But in order to take my career to the next level, I had to get the right classes for the right degree that helped represent get the skills that were needed by employers. Wanted to be a college professor. Well, in order to get a teaching job, you got to get teaching experience. So I found that the local library actually offered free classes and needed volunteers to teach people how to use computers. So I developed curriculum, and I refined that curriculum as I started working with more and more students as a volunteer for the public library. And the more I taught, the better I got, and the better understanding I got of some of the nuances on how to be effective as an educator. So you could take that general concept and apply it to your own career and then learn how to present yourself and the value that you have to offer. That's what salespeople do. They really understand the value of whatever it is, whatever product or service it is that they have to sell, and then they identify the people who need that, and then help present that information through a listening process to understand what their needs are, and helping them understand how their needs align with the value that you have to offer. So whether or not you want to be in a sales career making really good money, salespeople make some of the most money out of almost all occupations, because it really takes a really well rehearsed and defined skill set to be able to help identify prospects, clientele, and be able to present the information to the right people at the right time, the right way. That's selling in a heartbeat. So we're all doing personal selling. Everybody is selling things all the time. If I need resources for my department, I need to go to my boss who's got limited budget and limited resources. I got to be able to present to her in a way that will help me get what I need, because it will add value to her. She is going to be held accountable for the decisions that she makes, and she needs to feel supported in the right way. And so if I want to be a good employee, I need to be able to constantly sell the value that I have to my employer and the decision makers. And I need to do it in an authentic way rather than in a manipulative, unauthentic, unaccurate way. So never want to lie to anybody. My reputation means a lot to me. I need to be honest absolutely all the time. That is a characteristic that builds trust. Honesty builds trust. Even if you're caught lying or cheating once, people will always remember that you have the ability to do that. That's a part of your character. So if that was a part of the old you, create a new you and be absolutely honest all the time. Want the best, genuinely, for people that are involved. Help people understand what it is that you have to bring. And it's not about being cocky, but it's about being able to assertively share what you know the right way to the right people. Bring value, add value, give people more than what they expect, make them want more. Isn't that what the best organizations do? So you might sell a hamburger, and everybody sells hamburgers. But if you really want people to consistently want your hamburger, you're going to want to be able to offer it at the right price, at the right place, at the right time, and at the right way that makes people cognitively understand the value that you have to offer. So let's get back on this message about who salespeople are and what they do. Salespeople have all different roles. Some of them have a special relationship, and they maintain a relationship with a client. They're representing the organization, and they're making sure that whoever their client is always knows that they're there to support them, giving them what they need, whether it's making sure they have enough toner for their photocopier if they're in the photocopy business, or making sure that doctors understand the value that your drug has to offer, your pharmaceutical. So, there's people doing selling all the time, even if it's office furniture. Companies want to make sure that they have a reputation and an ambience that is really respected by the people that they're trying to attract and maintain as a clientele. So you need to make sure that you're packaged right. And part of packaging is making sure you have the right looking facilities, and people wearing the right clothes and having the right furniture to portray the image that you want to portray that's desirable for your desired clientele. Because you can't be everything to all people, but you got to be very clear on what your prescribed clientele is looking for and then give it to them. And sometimes that's about refinement, developing the right skills, having the right product, researching what it is that you have to offer, and really understanding who your competitors are, so you can help decision makers make the best decision by helping clarify what your product is or what it isn't. Most people who buy something and then have buyer's remorse really are upset because the salesperson didn't do the right job. I think those people need to say, if you're looking for this, we're not that. But here's what we do have that is similar to that, and this is why our product is cheaper than our competitors. Or it has this, and which is even better than what our competitors have, and this is the value that we have to add. And if that's what you're looking for, you've come to the right place. So you got to really understand who your stakeholders truly are. You got to understand who your competition is, but you got to be able to know what it is that you have to bring, and make sure that you never give a stakeholder or a client or a prospect any reason to doubt you, because you're there for them. You're constantly adding value. Same thing with an account team manager. Sales people, no matter what their title is, will need to have a boss. And being an effective leader of people means you constantly have to be educating people. You need to be giving the right resources, including training when training is needed, and coaching, and making sure that you're taking care of people. You got to be loyal to your employees. So if you lead a team, you need to be an effective leader, and you need to be able to have broad shoulders so you can help the organization always know that you've got the best team in place to move people forward. And then there's supply chain logistics people and channel managers. So if you've got a product or a service that you're giving, you need to make sure that the flow of products are always there, and you're not having too much product on hand, but you're making sure that product gets to the right people at the right time. So everybody in an organization has a job to do. And as leaders, we need to be effective in understanding who's affected by what we do, and that we know that what we do adds value. And so in sales, you got to be aware of the selling processes, and be willing to refine things and have the right training, so that people really truly understand the value you provide, what you can do and what you can't do. Very often there are people who are constantly maintaining relationships, business to business channels, for instance, where you're constantly calling on the same set of people. Then there are salespeople in consumer channels, the people actually doing the selling to the general public. And not everybody needs your product every month, but when people in general need your product, you need to make sure that you have informed people that help people make the best decisions, so they don't have buyer's remorse. You want every customer to be a raving fan. You want people to be able to understand what they have and love what they have, so that they buy more of it and they tell other people about it. Word of mouth is positive and negative, and I've heard from a person that I trust that this is a bad product. You're going to lose customers, and you lose opportunities to earn people's loyalty. So if you are adding value at all times, and making sure that your consumers are getting what they want, then they'll be a lot more satisfying. So you've got to be able to recognize the different stages of buyers and sellers in relationship. New? Are they continuing? Salespeople are constantly taking orders or creating new solutions, and that really is the key, being able to understand what the problem is, what is the need that's not being filled, and recognize how your product or service fills that need. And then you got to be able to recognize the importance of the purchase to the customer and be able to honor people where they are. Don't try to sell things to people who really don't need it. But sometimes people don't know that they need their product or service, and so you need to be assertive in a way and ask the right questions to help people really make that decision for themselves. You know, you can't be manipulating people, but people sometimes do not know that the value that you have to add really will make their lives better, maybe make them skinnier or smarter or look better, or whatever the value of your product or service is. But you got to be very clear on what that value is and be assertive enough to be able to present it to people so they don't miss the opportunity to gain the benefit of your product or service. So the best salespeople really have broad shoulders. You know, they're not going to get a yes every single time, but they really learn to develop the right skill at being able to connect with people who need their product or service. So selling, we're all doing selling. You know, you don't throw together a resume, you know, custom tailor a resume to sell the value you have to have. Really be able to identify what the organization that you want to work for is looking for and determine whether or not that's a good fit for you. And then if it is, you know, help me in your sales presentation, your job interview, or in your the packaging of your materials, your cover letter or your resume. You know, are you helping them see that you truly are an excellent fit? You know, you're probably not the only one in the game. They don't know what they don't know, but you generally have only one chance to be able to get your foot in the door. And so make sure your packaging is perfect. Make sure you're looking at it with a fresh set of eyes and helping make sure that you truly are presenting yourself as the best person for that job. If you're in selling, you're using your resume materials and then your job interviewing skills effectively and practice with other people. You know, you probably are excellent at tying your shoes because you've practiced it over and over again. Well, it's the same thing with anything. You know, the more you practice, the better you get. And it's got to be perfect practice makes perfect. You can practice doing something wrong over and over again, and that may mean that your competition is a little bit better than you because they've been practicing. So here are some characteristics of the most successful salespeople. One, they're self-motivated. You know, motivation is about taking action. And are you willing to get up in the morning and do the right things the right way so that you get the right results? The best salespeople are dependable and trustworthy. You're not lying to people. You're giving trust and you're earning trust and you're putting yourself out there and you're meeting the tests of whoever your stakeholders are, your prospects or your clients. You know, you're doing what they expect at the right time. So you are dependable. You're a person of your word. You're being ethical. You're not saying things are what they are just to please somebody, but you're really being honest. You're not trying to sell someone too much of your product or service if they don't need it. But you do need to make sure you're constantly adding value because that's a part of being ethical. You need to know your product or service inside and out. You have to be absolutely knowledgeable, and that takes work to learn the product. You can't lie about things. You have to be honest about things. You got to be prepared to answer the questions because you are an expert in your field. You got to have the analytical skills and the ability to use the technology. And some of us who've been using technology for a long time are really good about learning new software. But if your company uses particular technology, you've got to have the ability to really understand what the technology is for and what the nuances are and be able to navigate it in an efficient and effective way. And then you got to have the communication skills, being able to say things the right way to the right people using the right words, the right way, you know, tone, volume, even materials that you use. And body language is one of the most important forms of communication there is. And communication is two-way, so are we listening more? And are we watching the body language and evaluating how people are feeling at the time and addressing those feelings the right way? Are we flexible to be able to change the conversation at the right times to meet the needs of people? And so that, yeah, it takes a little bit of agility to be able to stop talking about something and shift gears and get your client or your prospect what they need when they need it. And then being creative, really understanding what your value is and being able to present in a way that that appeals to people. I think the best salespeople are also confident and optimistic. You know, we like people who really understand their own value. And when they're optimistic, they're always helping other people see that that glass really is half full and not half empty. So being optimistic and positive and confident about yourself because you know you're a person of value and you've got to be a person of value. And so we portray optimism in what we say all the time. And associated with that really is emotional intelligence. You know, it's not what happens to us that matters as much as what we choose to do, our decisions in the moment. So being emotionally intelligent means also managing the emotions of others, being able to accurately recognize how other people are feeling and help change the situation with your interactions. You know, if you're getting angry, you're probably pushing people away. If you are being optimistic and positive or can help other people change to be optimistic and positive, they're probably transforming and feeling better. So we all have the ability to influence other people's state of being with our state of being. And relationships truly are fragile. So manage every experience to help people always feel good about you. Salespeople generally are not born, but they're made. You know, it's about experience. It's about training. It's about really making sure that you're practicing and having the right information and conveying the right information to the right people. So there is significant rewards in being an effective salesperson, whether or not you're actually taking on a salesperson's role in selling products to people. And some salespeople make millions of dollars every year selling very expensive products like houses or technology of some sort. Or they're making incremental sales and maintaining relationships with clients and giving them no reason to look anywhere else for that similar product or service, because you're doing the right things at the right time. You're maintaining an account, you're maintaining relationship, you're constantly adding value. And if you think about it, that's what you should be doing in the workplace too. You're building solid relationships with your coworkers, and then you're constantly adding value to your boss, your organization, and your team, no matter what your role is. But you're constantly selling yourself. You're selling the value of who you are to the organization, so they're not giving them any reason to want anybody else. You know, be that linchpin. Create your own value no matter what your career is, and then sell yourself all the time through your actions, your decisions, the way that you treat people, and the way that you communicate. The best communicators really are the best listeners, and they're being able to support people the right way with the right resources. I know I've given you a lot about what selling is and what the best salespeople do. We'll talk about it in later videos. Thank you so much for taking your valuable time to watch this video. I'm Dr. Paul Gerhardt. Have a great day. Only you get to choose how you feel about it.